expression in the visual storytelling world. Before introducing our esteemed panel, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to National Book Trust India for giving us this opportunity to share our views on this topic and to the Aspiring Authors Alliance of India for bringing this platform for us. Today we will explore the depth of visual storytelling in poetry. In a world driven by visuals, poetry is evolving beyond the written word, finding expressions in films, digital art, and immersive storytelling. The fusion of poetic language with imagery deepens emotions, creating a truly sensory experience. Now let me introduce our panelists. First, we have author Shivangi Jain. She is a learning architect, psychologist, and writer. She is a passionate advocate of mental wellness and believes in harnessing the highest power of oneself. She lives by the principle of spreading love, happiness, kindness in the world. She has also received the prestigious 21st Century Emily Dickinson Award and Sahitya Sparsh Award. Next, we have author Parul Kapoor. Parul Kapoor is an architect, urban planner by profession. She has been working with the Government of India for over a decade now on urban development projects and policies as an expert. Parul is a voracious reader and a passionate writer who has recently published her book with the title Seeking Identities. She also writes extensively on her blog titled Bliss by Parul Kapoor, which is read by hundreds across the globe. Along with this, she is a motivational writer who advocates for mindful growth, a topic which she strongly believes should be taught in schools and colleges now. Next, we have author Satyam Jain. He is a soul with ink-stained fingers, an artist's heart, and a writer's spirit. Born and brought up in Delhi, he loves reading, singing, playing guitar, watching cricket, doing yoga, traveling, and meeting new people. He works as a content specialist in an MNC. Next, we have author Sucharita Parija. She has published 3 books so far. In addition, she has contributed for multiple anthologies as co-author. She is regularly penning down poems for various online and printed magazines. With a degree in architecture and computer application, she has worked as an educator and consultant. She is a strong advocate of girls' education and regularly sponsors for their school education. To introduce myself, I am Tanvi Agrawal, a senior product engineer working in an MNC for 9 to 5 and juggling to steal time from my remaining schedule to follow my passion and love for writing and blogging. I have written 4 books alongside I run a podcast show by the name Pages and Beyond, which is streaming on major audio platforms including Audible. And you can catch me in conversation with my guests on YouTube as well. Now I'll take my seat as we begin our discussion on evolving poetic expression in the visual storytelling world. So before we dive into today's topic, I would like to ask you all to introduce yourself a little more about your writing journey and about your latest book. So Sucharita, I would like to start with you. It's running.
Hello, everyone. My writing journey is not very adventurous. It was rather smooth, but it had started from a very young age. I had published my first poem in Sanskrit in school. Then I had composed poems and articles in Odia and English, and they were published in school and college magazines. My family has actually influenced in my writing journey, actively and passively, especially my grandmother. We used to discuss a lot of literature when used to meet. One thing I want to say over here, when I had said goodbye to my technical college, I had also said goodbye to the writing. Then the lockdown came. Then my second innings in writing started. And I published my first poetry book, Estrenar, in 2021. Then I had published another poetry book, Merak, and the latest one is Ayanam. one incident in this writing journey I want to share with you all. Once I had the good fortune to meet the international poet, Dr. Jayant Mahapatra. So I was very skeptical about starting the journey so late. And he had told me, be consistent in your writing journey, and the age doesn't matter. So this is all about my writing journey. And about the book, Ayanam, this is a collection of quotes, everyday quotes. The themes has ranged from nature, goodbye, morning, virtues, many other things. I think I have composed more than 800 or 900 quotes. It is applicable to all age groups because the quotes are always loved by all. I have written it with just one simple motto in life: motivate yourself first before motivating others. Love and care for yourself in the first place before giving it to others. Thank you.
So now, Sayyam, I would like to know from you about your latest book and your writing journey. But before that, I want to add, I am a true believer of age is just a number, as she mentioned. So never like stop yourself from achieving and doing new things in your life. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Tanvi. So, hi everyone. My name is Sayyam Jan. I am a writer. I like by profession, by hobby both. I am a content specialist working at an MNC, and then on the side as well, I'm writing. I've been writing since I've been in 8th standard. I have written over 300-400 poems. I write in both English and Hindi. So yeah, writing is my passion. Writing is my hobby. Writing is something that earns me the bread, if you say. So if you overall, I love writing. This is my first book, Lyrics of a Tangled Heart. It's a poetry book, but I have written it in a way that it reads like a story. So the book is divided into 3 parts: falling in love, heartbreak, and healing. So that something I feel is relatable to each and every one of us. The phases that are being talked about in the book, each one of us, we go through something or the other. And yeah, so that's it. And I hope you all give this book a read. I am sure you'll very much like it. Thank you.
Parul, would you like to go next?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I think we don't need to introduce ourselves as Tanvi has given a very warm introduction. So my writing journey was also very early in my age. I started writing, I don't even remember the age, but then basically because I'm more of an introvert, so writing became my sanctuary where I could, express my thoughts through my expressions and opinions. And also the poetry, of course, was the first choice because it's a very powerful medium. I feel that it's so sharp and still it leaves a lot of grays in between because it's very metaphorical in nature. So it just helped me navigate, kind of things which were going on inside, which I could probably not speak to a friend. But it was easy for me to pen it down. And then, of course, the poetry goes on to resonate with others. About my book, so this is my debut book, which is titled Seeking Identities. And I think as the title says, seeking. So I think at all points of time in our life, we're constantly seeking something, Sometimes we're seeking for peace, sometimes we're looking for partnerships, maybe sometimes we're looking for just quietness, maybe solace. So the book is a journey of all these seekings which we do in our point of times, and it's might be at the end of it be a little bit of transformation. So basically, the tagline that my book carries, it says it's a book to be embraced, not adorned. It's an emotion to be felt, not heard. So what I would like you to do if you pick up the book is that I would like you to not keep it in a shelf and keep it close to you so that it's close to your heart and not just adorning into a shelf. Thank you.
That's so beautiful. Shivangi, what about you? About your writing journey and your latest book?
Of course. So, hello everyone. So, the book that you see in front of me, Polaroids Life in Snapshots, I think the best way to describe this book was given to me by a friend. The book launch for this book happened in Bangalore, and after the book launch, he came to me and he said, "Your book is the first book that I completely read. And the only thing that I can say after reading is, I think you can talk to anyone and everyone and anything and everything in life." So basically, this book has a lot of mixed themes, and it's about observation. It's about staying curious, what goes behind the picture, and trying to understand the journey as we are trying to do it today while we all talk here and share some anecdotes from our writing journey and the book that you see in front of us. I know there are, like, there's so much literature out there. Today, when I entered the book fair, I was totally amazed to see so many books around. I think 7 lifetimes are not enough for us, all of us, to read everything that's out there. So I think every word has a way to reach their readers in one or the other way, and it has a timing to reach them as well. So may you pick up the best words that approach you today, and hopefully you find a piece of yourself in the written word around you. Thank you.
It's like so many books to read and so little time we have. So Sayam, I would like to ask you, poetry and visual storytelling have a deep connection. How does the collaboration between poets and visual artists enhance the depth and impact of storytelling? Because I have read your book and it has the illustrations that speaks for themselves.
Yeah, thank you for noticing that. So, before I answer that, I would just, like to show you all my book. So if you glance through it, as Tanvi was mentioning, there are a lot of illustrations. So for each poem that you find, for each of the phases that, have been mentioned in the book, I've ensured that, there's a visual representation as well, because that is what we are discussing today as well, how the poetic expression has evolved. So if you see, once you glance through the book, you'll, maybe without reading, you will still get a sense of what the story is about. So I think that is the power of visual storytelling, that, a picture, says more than 1,000 words. So I think that marks it true for poetry as well. In poetry itself, anyways, we are trying to use very little words to portray a lot more, but then combine it with visual storytelling, and this might look like a 125-pager book, but the emotions, maybe if I would write it in just words, maybe even 1,000 pages or less. So I think that is the power of visual storytelling, and I feel that if you pick my book, maybe you'll understand what we are discussing today. And I think it is a very, very good medium, and going forward, each of us should embrace it in order to give our readers a great experience. I think that's all an author wants, that if the reader is satisfied, and as you were mentioning that a reader came to you and he said it was the first book they read from cover to cover. I had a similar experience last year. My book got launched last year in the book fair itself. So there's a friend of mine here, he does not like reading. He does not even read his academic books or something. Was never into reading. He picked my book. He said, I just picked it for the sake of our friendship. But when he picked it, and he was like, I did not even know. Within an hour or two, I was done with the book, and I completed a book by itself. And that in itself, I feel, is the biggest accomplishment for a writer.
I believe we all of us has that one friend who doesn't read, but when we are coming out with a book, they definitely start reading. At least that book will be read by them. So that's a win-win situation for a writer, like an author. Basically, they are creating more readers into this world.
So I think Sayam was able to raise a reader in few hours, which we are not able to do it in years also.
That's so overwhelming.
That's really kind of you.
Shivangi, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Sure. So I think when you talk about visual storytelling and poetic expression, the best example that comes to my mind is Charlie Maxey's book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. Is anyone aware about that book? If not, please go and look for it. It's such a beautiful book. And it has been adapted into a animation video. So I think that's the best example that I can think of, because even when you're not reading that book, you will realize that it is animated so beautifully that the story goes along, right? And I think, I know we have these sayings which says, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and it's an age-old saying, and it's definitely worth it. When you look at people who admire pictures, when they look at it, they do believe and see a deeper meaning in it. But when we combine the power of words and visuals, I think we get best of both the worlds, and we are able to convey a point forward in a more realistic and deeper manner. So I think
Yeah, it's like when we have the visuals in front of our eyes, we get more attracted and we grasp more about anything that is running before our eyes. So Charita, what about you?
Yeah, thank you, Tanvi. Um, in my opinion, whatever catches your eyes, that stays for a long time.
Yes.
So first, I just want to know how the artists work, like the dancers through their expressions, the musicians through their songs or lyrics, then the painters, they just put their passion or emotions on the canvas. So the poets are actually artists.
True.
They pour their emotions, everything, through their verses or words. And actually, this concept is not very new because if you go to ancient times or any temples, the Ramayana, everything was actually, they had painted it through the poems. And Ramayana is an epic and it is a poem actually. It's a long poem. So they had carved out the paintings and all and had put it in the caves. So it's not new. But if you are reading, giving a reader a book of poetry to read, then it will be very monotonous for the audience or the readers. And they will say, no, I'm not a poetry lover. I will not go through this. But if you are putting this in another words, if you are like what Sanyam or in my first book I have done, actually I have illustrated, given some images, then the title and the poem. And in the end, I had given some summary of 1 line or 2 lines so that the audience can connect to it in a smooth way or connect it deeply. They can imagine it, visualize it, rather than just going through the words.
It's
It
like,
has more
you
impact
have,
on them.
Enhance it for wider audience. Basically,
Yes,
people
yes.
will not just read it; they will visualize it and they will get the gist
And
of
what
it.
I told you, whatever catches your mind, because today in today's audience, they have a very diminishing memory. So just to keep it for them for a long time, you need something visual.
Yes.
So the visual poetry is the need of the hour actually.
Yeah. Parul, what about your thoughts on this?
So I would probably give you a very desi version of it. I don't know, we've all traveled on Indian highways and we might be looking at the back of the trucks where they have those funny quotes and, little bit of illustration. So that's a very good way of catching your attention. And that's what exactly we need to today because nobody wants to read a very long text. So if we support it with something which is a visual support, then it will definitely grab their attention. And especially the non-readers.
True.
They might
that's-
actually pick up
that's
the
so
book
true.
if they look at those visuals.
Yeah, exactly. Even in my latest book, I have come up with the illustration part. And when I ask readers about their experience, they say illustrations speak for themselves and the verses speaks for themselves. So that's something that teaches us as an author that we have to evolve with time. So coming to my next question, I would like to start with Shivangi. If given a chance to blend poetry and visual art in your work, so how would you approach it? What will be your ideal approach to do it?
I think I would also integrate technology in it, and probably so I am very passionate about telling stories, like bringing people's story forward and helping them convey their stories. So I would rather do let's say there's a written word, we have maybe a QR code along with it. You scan it, and there's the story, the person themselves narrating the story. or a visual that goes along with the story. Like all these stories that we write, they are existing, living, breathing right amongst us, right? We pick up inspiration from all around us. So I would rather have a visual that's playing along with the narration that's written, which comes from within us, which comes from our surrounding, which comes from the nature, which comes from the inspiration that gave birth to that written piece.
That's so beautiful. Like storytelling and narrative poems are taking over everything in written word these days. So Sayam, what about you? You already have like done illustrations. What else you would like to do?
So yeah, that is what I was about to say. That somehow to answer your question, my book is my answer. So I mean, the way I have put it, I mean, that was the idea. To be honest, for me to write the book took me around 8 9 months, but for the designing part, it took me almost 2 years. So I
Oh,
worked on
that's
each
a long
page
time.
very strategically to ensure what we are discussing, to make sure that the reader is having an excellent reading experience. Because as ma'am was mentioning, that the attention span is very, very small. We are all used to, scrolling down the reels like anything. We do not stop for hardly 10 seconds. So if it becomes monotonous, if it is just simple plain text, I don't think people are going to give it a read. And that is what I was mentioning before as well. Like the non-readers, when they pick up the book, it somehow intrigues them that, okay, fine, maybe this is one book maybe I can give a try, because they are seeing that, okay, there are some illustrations going on. I have even gotten reviews from people that they are mindlessly going through just the illustrations also. If they are not in the mood of reading, since the book is giving them an aesthetic experience, they just scroll through the pages. So I think that is another power of visual storytelling. That somehow if someone is not in the mood to give it a read, or they can just browse through it and still get a
Illustrations,
good
right?
feel of reading your book.
Yeah, exactly. As I mentioned, like illustrations speak for themselves when it is like printed on a paper. So, Parul, what are your thoughts? Like, how would you approach to it?
So, as you've already mentioned in the introduction, that I belong to an architectural background, and for us, visuals are the most important thing. So, I might actually try and, so I might want to go back to my childhood. I used to read a lot of comics back then, and nowadays I'm seeing a lot of people read manga comics. So, maybe try and do something with comics and poetry. I don't know how it might work, but I would like to explore that option just to kind of create more fun, because at times what happens, people don't pick up poetry because they think it's very deep and it's very serious, so, and most of the people don't really understand. So maybe if we try and combine something like comics and poetry, it might interest even the people who are not so much into poetry or who are new to it. So maybe.
Exactly, that will broaden the horizon of readership. Not just kids, but adults can read those comics as poetry and illustrations. So that's something new food for thought for anybody who is looking for poetry in visual storytelling.
I'm open for collaboration.
So Charita, what about you?
Actually, it can be done in many ways. Like you can take any theme or through the illustration that has been discussed so many times over here. Uh, or you can take any shape or color or stick to any painting, your favorite painting or something like that. Then you can write the poem. So basically, if you are writing, giving a shape like in tree shape, if you are giving it, you can arrange the words in that way. So that will be actually more attractive to the children, also to the readers, like those hate poetry. Like, as Parul said, it's very serious kind. It's not actually serious kind. They don't like it. Means the name itself, the poetry, poems, and the poet, it just puts them off. No, 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 that's not my type. I'm not going to read that. Have you written any adventurous or crime thriller? Then we are going to do that. But actually, in poems also, you can incorporate that also. Any theme, the thriller or the crime scene or anything. But I was thinking, like in the first book, I had given images or something like that because there was no time for me to find an artist or something. I was more keen to do the sketches.
Okay.
Yeah, but I could not get it. So the next time, if I write or publish any new poetry books, so I will definitely give it a thought, like the shape or the color or something. I had thought about it, and this one, even the rhythm also, you can give it a try. So in that way, it can enhance the reader's, what do you call that, inquisitiveness, or it can attract them, it will linger with them even after they have read the poems and all. So basically what we are thinking, give it a new try so that the market for the poets will be more, it will be wider, the audience will be more audience will just read your whatever the emotions the poet has put into it.
Yeah, because poetry is more about expression and emotions. So basically, when it comes with illustration, so as I'm saying it again, like
And the
expressions speak about themselves.
beauty of the poem is it is interpreted differently at many levels, in separate levels by the audience. That is the beauty of it. Less words and the meanings can be more.
Meaning can be more. Like
Yeah.
multiple meaning can be there, and everybody can find their own meanings to that.
Yeah.
So
that is
something-
the
that's
thing.
the beauty of poetry.
Yeah, yes.
So since you mentioned rhythm, so I have question for all of you. What about the, like, do you believe in structured poetry or like free verse is okay? Not just free verse, like normal, not focusing on structure or rhythm. You can just start writing and you just end it as you like it. So what are your thoughts? Sayam, would you like to go first?
Yeah. So that's a good point because usually the perception is that if it is rhyming, then only it's poetry. If it's
Yeah.
not, then, we do not consider it poetry.
Yeah.
But actually, that thing is changing a lot, especially with the new contemporary writers coming in. They have changed that perception. People are deliberately, like, I know a few writers who are deliberately not rhyming it to ensure that, being writers, we are all rebels. We are doing something or the other that does not meet the norm. So that is the thing. I mean, as long as it makes sense, as long as you're able to, create a imagery out of it. See, although it might contradict what we are discussing, but words are supposed to create their own imagery in like what ma'am was also mentioning that, people have their own perceptions, how they perceive it. That happens when your words are able to create an imagery of its own. Like when we used to study in school, we are reading a poem by, say, William Frost or anyone, and then, takes it somewhere else. So, or maybe Wordsworth, he's the king of imagery. You read his poems, you have yourself made a story out of it. So that is there. So I don't think that it would be right to say that if it does not rhyme, it's not poetry. But then personal opinion is, yes, if you can rhyme it and, make it sound better, phonetically, if it sounds better, the reader automatically feels that, it is a better poetry. That is what my opinion is.
Oh, that's fine. That's wonderful actually. When we talk about poetry, everybody is asking rhyming nahi hai, how can you call it a poetry? So that is going to stay. I don't know for how long, but yeah, eventually we will have to evolve and change with time.
Yeah, so
Parul,
in
what-
my, just
yeah.
to add a point, in my book itself, I have at a couple of places deliberately put poems that do not rhyme. Everything else has a perfect meter to it, but specifically in 2 poems, I've ensured that there is no rhyming, but still, the
meaning
poetry is out
delivered
there.
and
Yes.
expression is delivered with it.
Yes.
I think the problem with this whole concept is that when we are taught poems in school, they're mostly rhymed meter.
Rhyme.
It's A A B B C C. So we are so used to that drill that we don't even realize that there is some other way of expressing it. So what happened in my book also, if somebody goes through it, there are times when it's interspersed, although it's not really coming in an order. But if you see that my initial poetry was rhymed because I did not have an idea also that there is something called a free verse poetry. But then when I read work from other people, for more modern poets, I realized that there is a better way or more simpler way, I would say. And I was actually able to express my thoughts better in a free verse poetry because it gives you the freedom and it leaves more spaces for expression. So I think I think it's time we start embracing that idea of free verse. And it definitely is easier for another person because it's not dictated by any structure.
True.
So it's
that's
like
correct.
either storytelling or a narrative. It can be anything, whatever interpretation the reader wants to draw. But I feel that it's the best thing that could have happened to poetry.
Shivangi, what about you?
Poetry as a writing form, I would say, like, is one of the rarest writing forms which can evoke so many strong emotions in couple of seconds. It doesn't even take a minute sometimes to evoke those kind of strong emotions. And I think poetry is one of the things that does that. I strongly believe that poetry is not human language. Poetry is something which comes to us, comes to the writers, and we write through our pen, but it is somebody else above us who is speaking it. Whether you are a believer in God, religion, or anything, or any higher power, but I do believe that the poetic expression is very different. So, the matter of it being in a rhythm or breaking that rhythm, I think till the time poetry is evoking emotions, it shouldn't really matter whether it is in a meter or it is in a form of a storytelling. Because you see, like, spoken word is getting so much importance these days. People everywhere are deliberately writing so that they can perform in spoken words. So, how are they doing that? Spoken word poetry is very long. It's essentially narrative format. It doesn't has rhyming to the core of it, but that doesn't mean that's a higher form. It just means that with us evolving, the written expression is also evolving, and the way we receive material is evolving. So I think the debate between having a rhythm and not having a rhythm is all about evoking emotions.
Evoking, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Even I used to write just free verse, like since a long time. Recently, I wrote my first narrative poem, and then I realized, oh, this is something that needs to be in longer form, and it requires your way of expression, the way you express, and it will be converted into a poetry. If you are not rhyming in it, it doesn't mean it's not a poetry.
Exactly. Sometimes what happens is if you, as a writer, if you forcibly try to bring rhythm into poetry, you lose the essence of it.
True, done that,
Right?
and like I
Yeah,
know how
you're
it
simply
feels.
trying to figure out words that rhyme with each other to end here and there, and then you suddenly lose the essence. So that's very important. I think till the time the essence is intact, I think rhythm or not rhythm, it's all poetry.
It's all poetry. True.
I'll want to add something here, which is something a little funny, but I'm not sure how many of the others people do. So at times when I'm trying to rhyme it, what I initially used to do, I used to sit with a thesaurus to match the word ki what will end similarly. Because at times that word is not coming to you. But that's the challenge, how you kind of fit that word into it.
I can relate with you to that. When I started, like as a kid, I started writing poetry. I used to have that Oxford dictionary,
Yes.
pocket dictionary, and I would find the words from that. Like, is it rhyming with it? Then I'll create my poetry with the ending rhymes. So, Parul, what do you think is the impact of social media platforms on poetry? Like the way you are coming out as an author, as a poet.
See, social media is one of the most critical tools now for being there, being heard. If we don't, I don't know, obviously I'm not talking of bestsellers, but if we are somebody new trying to, get noticed or for that matter, because most of the people are there on social media, but on different platforms. Now, problem is the challenge is for an author or a writer, how do you express your text to a variety of people, because text is something which, again, if you're not doing it in a visual format, it might not appeal. So for me, the challenge was how do I, attract people who don't want to read, but I want them to read my stuff. So I started playing a little bit with, small pictures, photographs, which I used to randomly take. And that's how I evolved. But it's very important. Otherwise, maybe, you might lose the battle.
That's so true. What about you, Sayam? How are you as a content creator apart from author?
So yeah, we are all trying in our own ways. So the idea is to maybe reach as many people as we can, and ensure that the book reaches to few people. They give it a read. Social media plays a very big role. I mean, to name one person, I would say Ashish Bagrecha. He started from Instagram. He was an Instagram poet, but now he is a best-selling sensation. So that is the power of social media. So it is tough, it takes a lot of dedication, and more importantly, it requires you to be very regular with your content. I mean, unfortunately, I have not been able to, even when I start, maybe after a few weeks, because of some work, or if you're not getting enough views, you get a bit disheartened, then you're like, let me focus on some other things. But social media plays a huge role, and again, what we are discussing, visual storytelling is the key there. So
True.
as long as we ensure that in the first few seconds you have to gain the attention, because there are thousands of reels every day on Instagram. We go there. If the first 2 seconds are not clicking with us, we'll just swipe. So all your effort does not matter if you're creating a 30-second, 60-second, 90-second reel. If the first 2-3 seconds are not good enough, nobody is going to stop and see it. And I think if we can, leverage that, it is the biggest tool in an author's arsenal to, get the book out there.
Yeah, that's true. Being a content creator, blogger, I can just resonate with him because every day we have to come up with a new idea. Nobody's getting attracted to you until unless you are giving new things to them on your social media platform. So, Charita, what about you?
Yeah, this is actually a very powerful tool. You must have heard about Rupi Kaur, the famous poet, because she was reciting her poems and all, and how she gained the popularity and the books, how it was sold in US and all. So everything is actually, but one thing is you have to be very consistent and very innovative every day, because if you are reading it today and not reading it tomorrow, then the people will forget about it.
That's correct.
And innovative in the sense, thousands are making reels, then how you are going to stand out? Then you have to think to do something very creatively, but that should be related to your poems, your work and all, how you are going to convey it to the world and all. So definitely what the theme is, visual storytelling and visual art, in when it join hands with the poets or the words, then it becomes a bestseller, I think.
That's so beautiful. This conversation has truly enlightened the evolving relationship between poetry and visual expression storytelling. So, to address the most asked question, who even reads poetry? I have just one answer for that. The one who desires, the one who seeks, the one who feels, the one who writes, and the one who understands the art of expression. Because poetry is not limited to written word, it blends with speech, art, and music. We have come to an end of our discussion. I would like to open the stage for the audience question. Do we have any audience questions? Please pass on the mic.
Hello. We know that poetry is open to interpretation. Sometimes what the poet had in mind is very different from what the reader takes from it, and or what he thinks it's about, or what are his takeaways from it. So, the purists or those who are pure lovers of poetry believe that when you are using a specific picture or sketch or whatever photo, you are dumbing it down for him, because he will. Good poetry is about. It's supposed to be very sensual. It should create that picture in his mind as per his individual interpretation of poetry. So it should create those sight sounds and the scene that you intend. So, although I understand that you, with poetry, with pictures, you are making it easier for those who are not serious readers and who have short attention spans. It enhances the reading experience for the reader. But what would you say to those purists who believe that you are dumbing it down when you put a picture, because it is open to interpretation as per the individual, and a good poet should be able to create that image in the reader's mind? So what do you have to say to someone like that? Anybody can take up the question.
Before anyone answers it, actually, just to save the dying art of poetry and poems and to make it more popular, the poets had come out with these ideas of illustrations and all. Because the die-hard fans of poetry and all, anyway they will picture it, visualize it on their own. So they don't need anything. To make it more attractive and to attract, to increase the number of poetry readers, the illustrations have actually come up.
Yeah, to add to it and to answer your question, I think for the purists, I think first of all, they anyways would be so engulfed in the emotions what the poetry is evoking. I think they will themselves ignore the picture and, they will be in their own world. Being a purist myself, if I am reading just 4 lines, it'll take me somewhere else. Does not matter if I'm in my room, if I'm sitting in a library, or if I'm on an airplane. That in itself. And then secondly, whatever the pictures are there, I think nobody is stopping the purists to take it to another level. It is our own imagination that is the limit. So even if the particular image or illustration is there, I think a purist will take it and emulsify it and expand it to something else. And final point would be that, see, the illustration is maybe for a particular line or for a particular title or for a particular section. But a poem is pretty long, especially the longer poems. So why stop at one? I mean, I understand. I even get this point from a few people. Good that you asked this question. That a few, you have put the illustration on a few pages, but a few are blank. That is for you. That is for you to fill. Because if I am doing everything in the book for the reader, I think it gives them very less room to, interpret it as their own. I hope that answers your question.
Do we have any other questions?
Since we're talking about visualizing storytelling, there are some, like, for the Gen Zs, we convert our textbook into brain rot reels. So what are your insights on turning poetry into such reels so that future generations, the Gen Zs and even the small kids can understand it better? It's a general question.
So, like I think I already mentioned, I also have a daughter right here. She's Gen Alpha, next step to you. So, definitely not a reader. But what I mentioned before also, maybe doing it in a narrative form and not doing it in a very rigid structural form. Because when you start doing it in a narrative form, it kind of already starts creating images. And of course, illustrations will be supporting tool to it. So now, when we are talking about the contribution of art to poetry, so maybe in the textbooks it would be a very good idea to maybe do it in a comical format or something which is resonating with that kind of an age group, and doing it in a manner which is more like a storytelling and not something which is enforced onto you.
Just to add on to that a small bit, I think they mentioned in my introduction that I'm a learning architect. So that's my day job. I create e-learning material. So all for converting the textbooks into e-learning. And secondly, when it comes to poetry, I think poetry can teach us a lot, especially when it comes to the emotional aspect of things, right? And given our education structure these days, in fact, from a longer time, we mostly focus on the left side of our brain. We do not really focus on the on the involvement of the right side of our brain. So definitely, if we bring poetry in visual form, which is already happening a lot, if you go and check social media, reels, you will see so many narrative reels in there, where there's a visual happening and there's a background, there's a Hindi poetry or English poetry, anything that's being narrated. I am definitely saying that yes, it's a good thing to be done, because people who believe that anything and everything can be a part of our education, poetry can be a very big medium in helping us understand emotions. And when visuals accompany that, definitely it brings in, it counts about moving along with the evolving generation as well. So we should definitely do more of it. Yeah.
I have something to add to it, since we are talking about reel in social media. So eventually, I also recently started narrating poems on my Instagram handle. Basically, that helped me to gain attraction of the audience. They were like, "Kaun padhta hai yaar? You should narrate more." Not just narrating, we can also use Pinterest for the videos and clips to just narrate what we want to try to convey. So these kind of reels are being created and people get traction and people are attracted to them.
May I ask a question? I just have a simple question. Uh, for any reader who finds it very fascinating to read poetry, but at the same time very difficult to understand, what would be your simple suggestion? What can we do to understand the poetry easily? Because sometimes it gets very difficult.
So, in my opinion, you don't need to interpret it in our way. That's what we want you to do. Draw your own interpretations. That's the beauty of poetry. We leave it in a manner that we are giving it to you as an art piece, maybe an abstract art piece, and it's up to you how you interpret. That's my thought. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, just to add to it, I feel as a writer also, we also, have a responsibility to make sure that the lives of our readers are a bit simpler. So maybe one approach that I like to follow is that one, I try to keep my words simple. I mean, as a writer, I should not be flaunting words or flaunting the kind of vocabulary that I possess. It should be up to us to write it in a way that a normal reader is also able to understand. Secondly, another practice that I have followed in my book as well is if there is a particular word I feel is a difficult word or is not word that is part of our regular vocab, I have put its meaning right at the bottom of the page so that you do not have to, stop reading, go to Google or open a dictionary and find its meaning. It's right there. It does not break your flow. And I think we both have to play our parts. As writers, we can make it a bit simpler for our readers. And then we would also appreciate that, the readers, whatever their interpretation is, they take that. Maybe if you have anything, you can, reach to the writers. I mean, on behalf of all writers, I can say we love it when people, reach out to us. They give us their feedbacks or if they have any questions. We all would love to do that. In our books, you can find our social media handles or our emails. So please do reach out if you have any questions, any feedbacks, or anything to discuss.
And to add to that, poetry is always not that difficult. Sometimes what is written is the simplest meaning of it. We don't have to judge like poetry has, so it will have something complex. We have to have double meaning of, dual meaning of that. So sometimes what is written is the exact meaning of it. We have to understand that as well.
Just one small piece to it. So, of course, everybody told you take your own meaning out of the poetry. That's for sure there. But if you are somebody who is actually interested in the art of poetry itself, how do we go about it? Definitely go read up, and you will realize that there are so many technicalities that go behind different forms of poetry. So that will help you enhance your knowledge about it as well, and a little bit assistance in understanding different poetry as well. So, yeah.
We are just taking one short last question with a short answer. Yeah.
Hello. First of all, congratulations to all of you. My question is, we all have one critic in our circle. Who is your good or worst critic? I hope everyone will answer.
Yeah. This is a very
Worst critic. Who is your?
I think for a writer, the worst critic is the writer himself. We are self-sabotaging ourselves at all points of time. That I don't know if what I write will sell or will be liked. I don't know. I haven't been criticized by others, thankfully. I hope that doesn't happen in future. But for me, that's the case.
I think that's the person who is stopping us from writing more books. Because we are trying to procrastinate and pushing ourselves back like, no, this is not good, nobody is going to read it. So that's something like we ourselves are the worst critics of ourselves. So coming to an end, I would like to mention all these books are available in hall number 6, T14. Do browse them and do check out. I am sure you will love all these books. Thank you for being a wonderful audience.